You can support me by following my channel. Bugatti Chiron Super Sport and its W16, one last dance with hypercar royalty. Angus Mackenzie says goodbye to one of the most extraordinary production engines of the modern era, Bugatti's 8.0-litre W16. Third gear, 3,600 revolutions per minute. Floor the gas pedal. Whoomp. You're shoved into the seat with colossal force. A stupendous roar like an erupting volcano is at your back. The scenery blurs in your peripheral vision, and your neck muscles strain to hold your head clear of the headrest as the tack needle breezes past 6,000 revolutions per minute and storms toward the 7,100 revolutions per minute red line. Snick the right-hand paddle to upshift, lift off, and breathe. Check the readout in the center console. It says 6,866 revolutions per minute and 1,581 horsepower. There will be future Bugattis that will have more power, that will shave whole tenths of a second off the Bugatti Chiron Super Sport's acceleration times. But they will never be like the Chiron Super Sport. They'll be cars propelled by streaming electrons and spinning armatures, cars propelled by the smooth and silent symphony of the subatomic world. They won't be dancing on the edge of destruction 1,000 times a second, turning the explosive power of gasoline and air violently compressed and set on fire into a harmonious fusion of power and torque and forward motion. They won't have the Chiron Super Sport's huge lungs and thumping heart. They won't have the Chiron Super Sport's soul. They won't have the Chiron Super Sport's extraordinary 8.0-litre W16 engine. I've driven versions of all three modern Bugattis, from the EB110 to the Veyron to the Chiron, and emerged from each astonished and amazed. But when I got out of the Chiron Super Sport for the last time, there was a tinge of something else. Sadness, I think. Bugatti will soon announce one more variant to be built on the Chiron architecture, a car specifically designed to celebrate the mighty W16 one last time. As it should. For we shall never see this engine's like again. Until now, I've tended to regard the Bugatti Chiron, like the Veyron, as a somewhat one-dimensional machine, all shock and awe acceleration on the way to the fastest top speed of any production car in history. But driving the Super Sport made me realize that in the context of the coming age of the light-switch quick, all-electric hypercar, it's not just what the Chiron does that makes it special. It's how it does it. I've driven one of Mercedes-Benz's replicas of the 1886 Benz patent wagon, long regarded as the first practicable motor vehicle powered by an internal combustion engine, 1.0 of displacement, 1 cylinder, 0.75 horsepower. The Chiron Super Sport's Titanic engine has 8 times the capacity, 16 times the cylinders, and more than 2,100 times the power. Those are numbers the patent wagon's creator, Carl Benz, could never have imagined. What's more, the W16 engine meets worldwide production vehicle noise and emissions standards. It is a benchmark internal combustion engine. There are internal combustion engines with higher specific outputs and better efficiency. There are much lighter, more compact high-performance engines, too. But there's a Gilded Age excess to the 1,080-pound W16 that makes it stand out, a Leviathan majesty to its execution that railway magnate Cornelius Vanderbilt would have understood. Features editor Scott Evans drove a Chiron Super Sport in California earlier this year. My afternoon with the car on the quiet country roads around Mulzheim affirmed his conclusion: the Super Sport is the best all-rounder of the Chirons. It might have 1,578 horsepower, pump out 1,106 pounds-to-foot of torque, hit 60 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds, and have a top speed of 273 miles per hour, but the Super Sport is a car that, if you had the wealth of a Gilded Age Vanderbilt, or a 21st century tech titan, you could choose to drive every day. It's smooth and well-mannered around town, effortlessly relaxed and easy to drive. And on winding roads, It's dynamically more agile and responsive than a car of its size and mass has any right to be, thanks to suspension and steering tweaks shared with the speed-optimized Super Sport 300 Plus and the more track-focused Pure Sport. In case you wondered, the average Chiron or Veyron owner drives their car about 1,200 to 1,300 miles a year, says Bugatti test driver Pierre-Henri Raffanel. The highest mileage Veyrons now have more than 30,000 miles on the clock, and the Chiron test mule and customer demonstration car has now covered more than 80,000 miles. Although those relatively low distances have more to do with the owner's time choices than any concern about running costs, the Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s on the Chiron Super Sport represent a dramatic improvement over the tires used on the Veyron in terms of their cost. And, more remarkably, a dramatic improvement in performance, too. Each Veyron tire took Michelin technicians an hour to hand build. A set of 4 cost $42,000, and they lasted maybe 6,000 miles. At 253 miles per hour, they'd survive a maximum of 15 minutes before the heat and enormous forces would simply tear them apart. Fortunately, the Veyron would run out of gas in less than 10 minutes at that speed. To guarantee the integrity of the bead seal, Michelin would only allow 2 tires to be fitted to an individual Veyron wheel before the wheel had to be scrapped. A set of replacement wheels cost a cool $69,000, which made fitting that third set of tires a $111,000 proposition. The Cup 2s on the Super Sport, 285 30 ZR20s at the front and 355 25 ZR21s at the rear, have been specially developed for the car. Coded BG2, the regular Chiron Cup 2s are coded BG, they have stronger metal strands wrapped around the carcass before the final layer of rubber is laid on. As such, they're rated for an incredible 310 miles per hour, says Bugatti's other test driver, Andy Wallace, who set the 2019 production speed record of 304 miles per hour in the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus using the tires. At that speed there was about 15,500 pounds of force trying to tear each tire apart, Wallace, who was accompanying me on my drive, noted dryly. Wallace says Michelin supplied 11 sets of tires for the record attempt, but he only used 3 sets. We only changed tires during testing when we went above 290 miles per hour. All of which makes the $15,000 Michelin charges for a set of Chiron Super Sport tires sound like a bargain. Bugattis have always been cars imbued with the vision of a singular individual. Founder Ettore Bugatti saw engineering as art. Born into an artistic family in Milan, Bugatti was as obsessed with the form and finish of his cars' mechanicals as their function. "Nothing is too beautiful, nothing is too expensive," said the man who once slaughtered that W.O. Bentley simply built fast trucks. The Bugatti EB110, just 139 of which were made between 1991 and 1995, was the brainchild of Italian businessman Romano Artioli. He built a factory just outside Modena, got Marcello Gandini, the man who designed the Miura and the Countach for Lamborghini, to sketch a concept, and hired a team of engineers to build a car to outperform the Ferrari F40. The Chiron and Veyron were the result of then VW Group boss Ferdinand Piech's steely determination to build the fastest, most powerful supercar in history. Piech simply informed the engineering group he selected to develop the Veyron that it would have 1,001 horsepower, that it would do 253 miles per hour, and that it would look just like the concept he unveiled at the 2000 Geneva show. Oh, and that it had to be civilized enough to allow him to drive Mrs. Piech to the opera in it. From the whispering 12.7-litre straight 8 that powered Ettore's majestic Type 41 Royale, to the jewel-like quad-turbo 3.5-litre V12 of Artioli's EB110, to the Herculean W16 of Piech's Veyron and Chiron, extraordinary engines have been a key part of executing their vision of Bugatti. Bugatti is now part owned by Croatian ultra-high-performance EV specialist Rimac. found a mate Rimax quad-motor Navira, which boasts 1,941 horsepower and 1,741 pounds-to-foot of torque and will hit 60 miles per hour in 1.9 seconds on the way to a top speed of 258 miles per hour, shows he knows how to build an EV that measures up to the hypercar hype. There's no question mate Rimac can create an electric-powered Bugatti that will make the right numbers. But could he create an electric-powered Bugatti that has soul? That, I suspect, might be a much tougher task. Which perhaps explains why the first Bugatti to be built on mate Rimac's watch, the first new from the tires up model from the marque since the Veyron launched in 2005, won't be all electric. It will be a plug-in hybrid. An extraordinary one, hopefully.